And we are back. And let me please clarify myself. We now have Chief Judge John Roberts, Clarence Thomas, Samuel Alto, Sonia Sotomayor, Elaine Kagan, Neil Gorish, Brent Kavanaugh, and A.B. Barrett, who are on the Supreme Court. And as a result, you have you're going to have, in my opinion, you're going to have a 6-3 majority, because we know that Amy, Brent, Neil, Clarence, and Samuel Alto, and John Roberts, what he can flip, are probably going to go conservatively. And as a result, we're going to see a whole bunch of stuff. Let me say this. When elected officials leave, like say, for instance, a governor, or even Supreme Court, you see them push through legislation that maybe they were afraid to do when they were active, and so it's called being a lame duck. And as a result of being a lame duck, they may pardon different people. They do things that they traditionally would not have done if they were in office, but they wait to that last minute to let people go. And thank you so much, Maureen Gotcha, for clarifying when I said that Stephen Byers was on the court. We know that he was replaced by Ketanji Brown Jackson. But the thing about it is that we got to be cognizant. When Maureen said that she believes that the voting rights is going to be overruled, it is so diluted at this point now that it will be. And what they'll do is they will keep making changes, amendments to it. And they will keep, pitting groups against each other so that they hide their hand. You know what I'm saying? My feeling, like I said, with a plus factor, any nationality who can demonstrate and document that they are in a class that has not been that has been adversely affected should have a plus factor rating. Boom, that's it. But you want to knock it down. That's what you want to do. You want to take away this. Why not just include them? If I just came up with that off the top of my head, why can't they do it? Because we don't want that. We want to be able to strike down the law so that there is no law in place, opposed to just amend the present policy to include individuals who can demonstrate and document that they have been adversely affected as a minority group, and then they get the plus factor. That's simple. So if you say, well, I'm the first generation Arab American or Asian American that has come in my family, and I went to an inner city school, and I believe that I should get the plus factor, get it. But that's not what they want to do. Remember when y'all used to be in school and somebody said, do you want to fight? Yes or no? And it was always somebody that was agitating the disagreement, trying to escalate it. And so that they could see a fight. This is what's going on. Because right now they know that the majority in that Supreme Court is conservative. Other than Clarence Thomas and John Roberts and Samuel Alito, everybody's under 50. I don't know what they give them to drink, but the average age of a justice is in their 80s. They live a long time. So it's not like the rules are going to change. They're going to get worse. And so then Clarence Thomas figured this way. As soon as we get a Republican president, I'm going to step down. So is Samuel Alito. And then guess what? You got all young people on that court, and they're going to all be under 50. And then you're going to have 7-2 majority, Republican, conservative. And they're going to get exactly what they want. And they're doing this now. That is why this case that I told you about, Moore versus Harper, that if it's passed, it will allow North Carolina to redraw the lines. Guess what? Then South Dakota gonna do it, North Dakota gonna do it, Florida's gonna do it, all of the state, Texas is gonna do it, Georgia's gonna do it, and then you're gonna have a block, a conservative block that is going to assure conservative representation. And why are they doing it? Right before the election. Right before the election. So if this passed, game over with. So I don't care how long y'all stand outside and try to vote. I don't care how many people say get out the vote. I don't care. It's not going to make a difference, because the game now is going to be against those individuals in the way that you vote. That's just what's going to happen. And if we don't, oh, we'll let the president in, but we're going to make sure that we stack the House and the Senate. And guess what's going to happen? You're not going to get anything through anyway. It's a game. It's a game. Why is the Supreme Court listening to this before the election? They need to say, listen, we got this election around the corner. Let's defer it. This case is escalated. Why? It gives those other states an opportunity to adopt the rule that says that the legislature, which is federalism, gets to decide and draw the congressional districts for their state. It gives them that opportunity. So those states that have a conservative majority are going to do it and redraw it. Carol says, Lumpkin says, why is our system letting all this going on in our prison system and these commissioners allowing it? It's ridiculous. But not one case is before the Supreme Court talking about being able, the overcrowding issue with COVID in the prisons and how people are dying from that, and how we need to have more programs, early out programs. We need to be able to have more PPP, the protective gear in the prisons. None of that is before that, because that don't matter. That don't matter. We're concerned about voting. And so these three cases are before the Supreme Court, and we will have a decision in a couple months. And if we do, that will give those conservative states an opportunity to get up to speed, to make sure that they can guarantee Republican representation. And when you take it to court, they're going to say, we already decided it. And Moore versus Harper, you can do it. Yes, you can. Game over with, baby. Okay? Because they know that they can't do this in the House and the Senate. So they run into the court. That's what they're doing. And the court just represents. Okay? Look what they did with Roe v. Wade. You can't get around it. Yes, now each individual state, but by and large, when we went over it before, and I can't say it off the top of my head, what is it? At least 30 states we know have adopted it, ratified it, and if you in those states, you're not getting an abortion. I don't care if you get raped or whatever, you're not getting one. I'm sorry. And this is what they're doing with voting. It is, listen, if I didn't see it, I wouldn't believe it. I'm like, oh no, they can't. They're not letting that. Women, they can't do that. They're not. It's ludicrous. My belief is the founding fathers said, let each person who is a citizen vote. Where did all these districts, all of these drawing, where did that come from? It came from an intent to control the outcome. I mean, I'm not a sports person, but if you say, when you at home, you get the pitcher can be closer to the person with the bat, that's going to give that person an advantage. So are these laws, and it is. I wouldn't believe it if I saw it, and if they pass, I'm not going to guarantee, because I don't believe in betting, but the likelihood is going to triple that there will be greater Republican representation in the House, Senate, as well as the presidency. It's, I don't want to say guarantee because that's a strong word. This is this is something else. This is something else. And let me tell you something. Every conservative state will be up all night redrawing those districts to allow for greater Republican representation. They'll be up all night long. And so by 2024, whoever they run, they're going to win because of the way that it's been redrawn. If it's going to be withdrawn to assure that you have representation in the House and Senate, it's going to dilute the vote of the people who vote Democrat. Because what did it say? It says that North Carolina Republicans drew a highly partisan, that means for them, election map that would assure 10 of 14 congressional seats that they would held to be held. That means those voters are going to be voting conservative too, which means that there's a greater likelihood for a Republican to get into the presidency. We'll be back.